Hey everybody! EPAM, thank you for the 1,000 bits! Sorry you can't stick around, but we hope to have all this on the archive. You know, hope to not have it immediately stop streaming the second I click something. Fingers crossed. The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Uh-oh. Back in the clock tower. Alright. Stream still going? Good. Moving on. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time in the SS Beria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would have put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. Makes you wonder kind of what the inflation is, if £3 for a night in that place was gonna quickly bankrupt their stipend. Australia, thank you for the Prime sub. And also, I did see... Or is that just my imagination? I already can't trust my memory. No, must have been my imagination then. Ah, London's a scary place. Well, given that they're in this office... Hello! Sorry, I was just trying to remember what the heck my voice was. Oh, yes, good morning! Oh, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Just Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation to British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And, in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh! No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. You got a bird problem in this office, sir. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case? Already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. That's why it's called a practice. I'm sure. I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't come quite to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. His Thetan level is 0. All thanks to you. Jim Prower, thank you for the 56-month resub. You've been with us so long, and you're still with us, and I'm happy. Thank you. Welcome to Tiny Train World. Don't remind me, but for everyone's benefit, to think you spent so much money to go into law school, Quinn, when all it took was 30 days on a boat and a murder defense trial. Yep. This is a flashback. I'm not going to do my Santa voice for this. I'm going to eat a snack. Oh, even better, just fill up the time for this flashback. Thank you, Trivia Lubs, for your 5 gift subs. As we talked about yesterday, it's September, which means subs are discounted, but still give the full value to the streamer. I'm not entirely sure. I honestly should have studied up. I didn't. And that was my Waluigi impression. Oh, and Green Eldred, thank you for the 9-month resub. Oh, you have your sub baby now. You want to name it? I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was. I didn't know that was going to be the second part of that sentence. I just can't help but wonder if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo! It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? McGilded is dead. Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? And it wasn't even my fault? Damn birds! I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. What can I present you with? My armband. What happens if I present it to you? Oh. I'll never get that right. Lord Strongheart, may I show you this? To accept this item, issue a receipt, examine it thoroughly, and make a formal statement of my findings would require something in the region of 24 seconds of my time. Sorry? Does the iron item warrant 24 seconds of my time, Mr. Naruhodo? Let's leave it for now. I guess that's all we're getting out of that. Yeah, move out of the way. I want to inspect your office some more. It's probably all the same from the last time I was here. So it's weird that we get the check marks for these now, but it's definitely the same dialogue we had the first time we were in this office. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's just keep talking. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, that one. Yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilder had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already... The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of Mr. McGilded. That's awful! Oh yes, the man must have slipped inside while the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That's just one step below. He just spontaneously exploded. Like Pegasus's wife. Sorry, had to silence my phone there. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. Yeah, a man is dead. And all we can think is, man, that bailiff must have stunk. And how could that have happened? And that is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilda did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Yeah, remember this from last week. Or yesterday, depending on your reference. An inspection of an omnibus? Oh crap, this is related to the flashback. I guess I should have voiced it. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilda talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? That wasn't the Supreme Court. Only New York does that. Where they call their trial courts Supreme Courts for, honestly, I don't know why. If someone from New York could explain that, I'd be very appreciative, because it seems like when you use the word supreme, you are invoking kind of the highest court in the land, not the basic trial court. Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow! Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. Wait, did I say that out loud? The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believed I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Heh heh heh. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. Ah! And that only can be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? I feel I'm being set up here. Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much is at least an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? I hate missing out on a joke. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? Susato did that too. Was some of this written as dialogue before they changed it? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. "23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds, to be precise." So the trial's tomorrow, then. Is everything alright? Oh, yeah. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Ah yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there's currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh! If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. The most advanced legal system in the world forces people to face criminal charges without a defense counsel. What fun. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. No. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh. Another thing? Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important I have to do. Something very important. And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done, if he ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I didn't know that's where that was going with that line. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to appraise you of the details. How long has he been there? All Mr. Asogi said to me was, "Boy, I do like being alive. So, I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell." It looks like he has a whole bunch of potato wedges in his coat pocket. Probably gloves, but I'm hungry. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I think I heard his last words in my sleep. Oh fuck, the bedpost! I still feel like that if he really did die because he banged his head on the bedpost and snapped his neck, there would have been a lot more physical marks on his body. Well, we got this guy over here. Well, let's, no. Yeah, how about this? While the guy's standing there. Hey, Susato, I think we're in a giant clock. Alright, what do you want? Are you gonna offer me those fries? That's so nice of you. Oh, okay. I was closer on my first guess. Yeah, it looks like it's just fish and chips. It's an ever-flowing package of fish and chips. Such wonders Great Britain has. I admire the fact he's able to eat so much. Could we trouble you? What do you think? See, every time I try to force a British accent, it does not come out right. Alright, what does a guy without a chin sound like? Or rather, one buried so deep in his face you can't really see it. What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you Japanese upstart. Something flippery about the weather doesn't get every English jet eaten out of your hand, you know. But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. I am literally puffing out my chest to bury my chin in my neck, and that's why I'm getting this voice. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here happen to be with the likes of you talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying, Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's hearing a job from a country I've never heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reciprocation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke and Susato, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sue. It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London weathers don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable! How'd she pull that off? So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Well, obviously that's the most pressing matter. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gretson? You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rants magazine? That's right! Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes play a wonderful, friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible!
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of the bad lot of all of the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now.
That's great, isn't it?
I have to admit, it's that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, it is not! There is nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors? Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs.
I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Oh, your pocket's gonna get really greasy.
Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the guy, it couldn't be simpler.
Ah, bad time to yawn. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right.
A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Row when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital, unconscious.
That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you could have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now.
Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest.
So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one.
Sorry?
There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now.
Why ever not?
Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barak Van Zykes.
Oh boy. We're fighting Dracula again. Get the garlic. No!
Sounds like you heard of him then.
Oh yes. Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zykes. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Okay. I mean, it feels like we've already done this, but whatever. Actually, can I? Alright. Lord Barak Van Zykes, who we faced in the court only yesterday. Mr. McGill told us about him before the trial, didn't he? Flashback, flashback, here's Dracula in a flashback. With some nice music. I mean, if you phrase it like that, he's still keeping to his record, because even if he was found innocent, McGilda died. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty? Is that it? Well, you know that's not true, Ryunosuke. Well, it could be up to true to a certain point, but moving on. Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zykes, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
Huh? And what of it?
Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you?
What do you mean?
What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead.
Ah!
Magnus McGilly became a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. You really can't say you saved the defendant, can you?
What are you saying?
Look! If Van Zykes could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips.
What is in the middle of that mound of chips anyway? My original guess was fish and chips, just because that's a staple, but it looks almost like a hot dog.
So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there.
It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you, where the incident took place?
That's correct, ma'am, and if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself.
You've branded him a criminal already?
He's as good as shaking like a leaf in this cell, he is. He'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way.
Inmate 53, thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. Oh, Trinity Loves, thank you for gifting a sub to Vargvet1013, and also welcome to the chat. Sorry if I got your name wrong. I do get that sometimes. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, even if I'm going to make some. I think I'm gonna make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes! Let's go! Defense lawyer powers activate. Probably best to start with our inmate. Okay, wait, if it's still daytime, why is it black outside that window? And if it's black because we're underground, why does he have a window? So these are British prison cells. Susato, they got you! Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Jaw fell out. Stop hiding in the back of the cell and show the face at once! Okay, well, I got nothing to go off from this voice, so... Am I a cat? As yet with no name? Oh no. Oh no, it's a performer from Cats! That's our victim! Wait, is it Weber? Is it like Andrew Lloyd Webber? Is that the defendant here? Sure. Calling me by my number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. My money is now on Andrew Lloyd Webber. He murdered one of his Cats performers who refused to do the choreography right. Mr. Naruhodo, what? What do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. It is! With a mustache! Ooh, nice window. I don't know what to do for the voice here. Should it be like my best impression of Valjean? Excuse me, but who? Shh, quiet! No, that's not right. Huh. Yeah, he does kind of look like a Joe Star. Since he has a mustache, shall I make him Mario? Shh, quiet! They're all around, hiding! I know they are! Yeah, no, that's not Mario. This is bad. They're watching, listening, even now! I can sense it! Yeah, I think this is going towards Snagglepuss. Right. So, could I ask you who... There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it, you're a ghost! A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner. Prisoner, son! I would hope that makes more sense in Japanese, but attaching an honorific to prisoner seems wrong. Are you Japanese by any chance? Oh, that got him out of it. This is beyond my wildest dreams, even. Oh, there go his eyes again. Forgive me for that outburst before, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment. Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? Ah, what compassion my fellow countrymen show! To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student! Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon! He's getting close to dabbing. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example. Yes, I can, I will! Shan't say sullen and silent! I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but seems happy. He seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikitoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably notoriously named Natsume! Soseki Natsume. Hey, can I show you my armband? Yes, the symbol of one of our great empire's first-rate lawyers. Which means, of course, you'll stand at my side, you'll defend me. Oh no, sorry, that wasn't why I was showing it to you. I just thought it was a cool armband. Then why else would you show me that? Oops, in hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea. Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Yep, well that got lost in translation, didn't it? Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? I hear it. Why would I not? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No! Don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku? That really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say you were a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this! It's beyond the pale! Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But! Just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it, no? What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable! I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi! You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, so I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. Could you perhaps tell us why you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder! Murder? Oh, no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife! Right before my eyes! Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I had seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse. It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So Suzaki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's a throwing knife. It's vital we find out more about the case. She was attacked by ninjas. It was an accursed evening just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too? As I was walking along that cursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her... Wow. She's a little plump. She suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed under the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible! I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English and a young woman at that? I'm definite, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people! I see. A young woman unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? He totally did it. He's guilty as hell, Susato. Like all of our clients. Like me. What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. So how do they think that he did it? Yeah. Yeah, it's Mr. McGilded. He came back from the grave. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. That's not... that other way around, Ryunosuke. Ah! You! What did you just say? Wait, did he say it? Pull that back up. He didn't say it. Is everyone reading minds now? And no, it's not that everyone's a mind reader. It's just Ryunosuke in particular has a very easily read mind. Everyone knows what Ryunosuke Naruhodo is thinking on Earth. Weird. What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops. Perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what's troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody left at the scene to see him. How did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right! It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me! All the bad luck! Accursed great detective? Could it be? I shall never forget the man's name as long as I live. With the haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed, busybody, begone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Herr Lock Shlomes! I knew it! Mr. Sholmes? Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare that unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a silver sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police! Put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon! Disgusting dietary discrimination devils! You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes. It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really very well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm a knife-wielding madman. Me, this weak, stooped kitten of a man. I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. What you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were, that's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish foreign film flammery. Flammery. Well, we are in England, you can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew it had an answer, and I didn't know what to say. I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh yes, all right. Yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, why? Why is this so hard to say yes to me? You and every lady in London. Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself on study tour. A student? I have defended a case in the Old Bailey, only the one though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, well, I'm sure your crisis of conscience is doing Soseki here a big favor. Sorry, it looked like OBS kind of locked up there. I want to make sure it's catching up with me. Oh, there we go. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose.
But that armband! That's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire!
It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend.
A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me.
Oh, who do you mean?
The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me.
Goodness, why do you say that?
For the same reason as you noted before, when it happened. There was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool, I know it looks as though I must be the culprit.
It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san.
And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, within my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway.
That's awful.
They're wrong! I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there in the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen. Oh, sorry. I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I see it. I can see what you've been through.
Soseki-san, it's just that. Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. In other words, say it with me, class.
I'll take the case!
Always get your Harry Birdman references in when you can.
What do you mean?
We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you, locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Okay, bye! I see the sun was out, so that window in that cell was bullshit. So this is where it happened, Briar Road. Did you put the body in that snowman? Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that snowman! Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see it with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Hee, of course. I'll have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. Oh no, it's you again.
What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Gretson.
This isn't on the tourist trail, and as I'm fairly sure you're well aware.
Yes, of course, we're here to investigate.
So you've been in the holding cells then. What'd you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
Huh. We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and a verdict's a foregone conclusion.
Ah, the stone cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air. That makes it work somehow. I guess I'll keep talking to you. Ugh. I feel like so much of this is treading old ground. Tell me about Scotland Yard Inspector. Okay, wait, are we doing our thing, or are we just speaking for Susato now? Because I have actually important questions, but I don't care about fulfilling Susato's fan inquiries. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. Oh, and she, of course, asked about Scotland Yard. Equisfer, thank you for gifting a sub to Cychronia.
The Yard. It's the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Ah. The colonial sentiment. Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. Don't think I'd trust their investigation since they can't seem to see anything. They don't even look like they have eyes. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you.
Oh, really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work.
What? He wakes people up?
Yep, raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit.
I had no idea. Oh, I had no idea.
The Bobby works for the people of the town. Just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance.
I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way.
Well, it's about 20 Star Destroyers long.
Let me see. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far.
And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
Wait, they don't have lamplighters for that? But Mary Poppins had a whole song about it. Oh my! And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well? And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside. But yes. They're expected to maintain those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit.
I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will beat my heavy head if you do.
It happened at around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement.
5 in the evening? 5 in the evening? It's 5 in the afternoon. You don't use evening until it's 6 or later. The sun is still out. How is no one around? Oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? No, that is a good point. Sun sets at like freaking 5 o'clock here in the winter. Yeah, no, I take it back. In wintertime, it would be different. I was discounting the fact it was so deep in winter that the day would be really short. Echoes first with 100 bits. Legal question. I'm realizing there are my gosh, read the words. I'm realizing there are some big legal differences in the UK and US. How many pieces of fish did you have to eat to practice law? More or less than this dude's 15? Luckily, we got rid of the dietary restrictions after the Reformation. So, how much fish you eat is up to you.
The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind.
Isn't that right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in the hospital. Oh, I forgot. It's you've removed the when you're talking about this kind of English. You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. Which one? Who knows? But in hospital she is.
I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all.
I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
It's yard policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
Oh, well, how kind of you. If it's exculpatory, we're going to keep it to ourselves, but if we don't mind, we'll give it to you. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record.
Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it?
Well, I know Mr. Natsumi is also claiming to not have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that no one else was present.
I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we can almost certainly be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
What?
We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less.
So people were around. Precisely 2 more people.
It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see him.
There were witnesses now? Who were these witnesses, Inspector?
A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London, Magnus McGilded. He's a copper from Scotland Yard.
Ah! A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that man. Part and parcel of the being a bobby. Catching them banging the act and all that.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow.
Oh.
I have no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector.
What?
The person who led you to the suspect. I hear that he was Mr. Herlock, sorry! Sorry, everybody. Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The color is drained from his cheeks. Well, obviously we need to follow up on that.
Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsumi who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle faddle!
Ah!
The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know where he gets his information from, but it turns out that the scene of a crime wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gobble! Now I'm a turkey, matching my neck. Ever seen this before?
Oh yeah, that's Rance Magazine. The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears.
Yes, well that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several bits of the Yard's detectives in its stories.
I feel like we've been over this.
And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone about the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Herlock Sholmes tale at all.
Well, I suppose there's an element to that. Oh,
We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. That man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all of our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clue, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship.
That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not?
Well,
Makes no difference to me, but I'll just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole.
because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean?
There's no way to save that man now. It's a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange, though.
Sorry?
The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, he did. We did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum, the master criminals, the violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right, he handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely.
That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but he didn't kill her. Couldn't even say that was the intent here. Couldn't say the intent was there. I'm all over the place. I think I'm having a stroke thanks to all the cholesterol in these chips. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase.
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on inside that head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Are we really gonna have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it? Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Time to poke around the crime scene. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in this case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even. It's Baker Street! How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing stopping us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage! So we're going to have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Hee hee, what a delightful snowman! Didn't even realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though. Oh, it has a scarf, look! You need one if you're out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. No. I call that abandoned property. You left it out in public on a snowman that was not going to last more than a couple of days. You abandoned that. Unless their residence is like right here in this yard. They abandoned that scarf for the sake of fun and flippanry. Even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred. Yes, it's very wide. It's a very wide open space, isn't it? Well, remember, I'm from Texas. Any snow we have does not last more than a couple of days. It falls on the ground, and the sun comes out, and it all melts. The longest we've had it last would be about a week when it stayed below freezing. And that was when, you know, the whole world stopped. From Texas's point of view. That's true, I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. Except behind the snowman.
Oi! What are you foreigners doing here?
Just investigating the scene, officer. Conspiring with that mustache fella from Japan, are ya? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have ya? Get out of here before I give you an item. Go on! He shooed us away like rats. Yeah, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointing experience. I'm gonna laugh. Scan the scene. Oh, hello, what's this? Do you see all the black smoke rising from the chimneys over there? It says here that in Great Britain, many people heat their homes in winter using coal. The only chimneys I really remember seeing in Japan were at the top of the bathhouse. Fun times. Do you think some of those houses could be on fire? Not at all. Well, even so. That much thick smoke building up into the heavens is surely going to turn the whole sky black sooner or later. Foreshadowing. Gosh, you may be right about that. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks. It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all the snow. I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems like it would be far safer to walk on the road instead. Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed all in black. I worry a coachman might not see you, and you could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander close, we'll be clapped in irons. Or yelled at in a very racist way. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I find myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Ugh. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride in one of those to the streets of London. Well, Susato, I've got a shortcut for you for that dream. We'll just pick up a stone and throw it through one of those windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way... Help me find a good stone. No, I wasn't serious. And this is a horse's butt, Naruhodo-san. Oh, there's a whole other corner over here. The clouds look big and heavy in the sky, don't they? They are pendulous. And with the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it is known as foggy it is known as foggy London town. You can just make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's still being built, though. Aha, yes, that must be the Crystal Tower, being built for the Great Exposition. Ha! In a Phoenix Wright game, that would be half right. The Great Exhibition, that's to open in 6 months' time. Apparently, it's going to be very striking, glazed on all sides, and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. It's going to be the largest exposition in history, isn't it? It's even hard to imagine. Can't even begin to imagine it. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right! I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where no one lives in at the moment. There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though. Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place. Wait, there... Susato, did you throw rocks into those windows above the door? That's a rather typical old brick. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yes, you're right. Cheap, but ideally within reasonably level floors. Oh, a British bicycle, look! Although the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore. Dawn must have been doing some breakneck cycling. It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well. Ha! A women riding a bicycle? Preposterous! The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Goodness, do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. Those guys in the Navy are all weirdos. If you ever tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river, I know you agree with me. We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around. In that outfit? Oh yeah, see, look at that. Jeez, didn't see how badly bent that tire was. In fact, kind of looks like it may have run into something right here. I'm pretty sure that's everything here. Oh, there's our animated cutscene for the episode. Alright, just stay here. I'm gonna go stab him with this sword.
Thank you very much.
It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day.
We don't even have to pay you? Cool. He said up the street. You guys just turned right around.
The residence of Mr. Herlock's shows.
Man, what a odd voice for Naruhodo. Interesting stuff in the bookcase over here. Bookshelves. And then you have the floppy shoe. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san. Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read this story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So, if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Face the corner, Susato. Please, don't mind me. She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at the present. Excuse me, is anyone home? I don't think this is gonna be Holmes. Oh, I'm sorry, Sholmes. So, let's see. Blank narrator voice.
Oh, do we have a visitor?
Oh, it's this girl. I don't even remember the voice I gave you, and that was just a week ago. Hello! Is it a great big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello. Wait. Aren't you... Oh, how rude of me! I'll go and make some tea at once! I'm sure it's the same girl. Miss Susato, did you see the girl that was just here? Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. And fucking lost to a whore! The King of Bowaria? King Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ormstein of Bohemia! Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there. The tea's brewed and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Oh, it's you. I knew it. Susanna-san recognizes her too. Oh, we go into a flashback. Yes, this is me in the flashback when I got me gun back. The smoke grenade launcher. Oh, can you help me prep the lines of cocaine? Sholmes does like his cocaine when he's back from adventure. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. She must have killed Mr. McGilded. I'd never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you only just arrived in London. Oh yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is the tea supposed to look that color? It's purple. Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. I feel like I'm getting close to the psychic character from Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series. This lawyer's badge is not worth the paper it's written on, but make a good coaster for my tea! Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you? Shirley? Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea! I'm afraid Early's out on errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholm's suite? Oh, silly me! I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. My daddy's dead. I live together with Early. That can't. No homo in this place. Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait. This can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Yes, that's right. What are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke and Susato, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely! Susie and Runo! Got it! Susie? And Runo? Honestly, Runo, much better. Much better than Ryunosuke. You don't have the same oomph, but we haven't had that since Kazuma died. There's more to this girl than meets the eye. And there's a lot meeting my eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start. Yes, and so do I. Ooh, jaunty music. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, move aside, little girl. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. Ah, so relaxing. We can't relax! Not when there's so many interesting things on the mantelpiece! Oh, it's just as if it was described, just as it was described in the stories. It is? Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example. On my chocolates for 11sies! And transfixed by that large jackknife is my shopping list for the market! Oh, it's not quite how I remember it being described in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Poor Susato-san, she looks crushed. A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection! This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament. Oh, those are all the mementos that Early has collected from his past cases. Really? Even the bust? Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust. The poor defenseless emperor? Mr. Sholmes destroys it? Yes, and then buys a new one. You make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor. Ah, how entrancingly bohemian of him. Alright, there's probably a lot of good... I'll take a look around. Oh, okay. Found your part of the apartment. I don't think I have the wherewithal to investigate every single one of these machines, though. Ooh. Such a jaunty tomb. Oh really? Welcome to Tiny Train World. Well, I know you probably said it as a joke, but sure. What on earth is that big black lump over there? Ah, that fascinating thing is called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And wizardly quickly, too. Ooh, that sounds like it could be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. You can definitely tell it's kind of a bleed over two different spaces. You have this whole mess over here. A somewhat cozy, but some odd ornaments around the room, and then white and pink. What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine? That's the Great Analytoscope. It can analyze anything, really. Anything at all. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Early's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations. What sort of things has he analyzed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh. Why not? Why not? Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyze. Oh dear. How about you, Runo? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze? The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. Alright, yeah, we'll cover the bullet. Why are all these bullet holes in the wall up here? Was Mr. Shelves trying to shoot a pestry fly or something? Mr. Sholmes would never do something so reckless. No? Those are the letters VR, standing for Victoria Regina. It's Latin for Queen Victoria. So you mean he shot the Queen into the wall? In a moment of boredom, Mr. Sholmes adorned the wall with a patriotic sign, that's all, as pistol practice. Right, that makes perfect sense now. It's exactly as it's described in the stories. Oh, this is delightful. I'm not sure that the real explanation is any less reckless than shooting a fly, personally. It's patriotic, Mr. Naruhodo. Patriotic! Oh, you know what? While we're here... X. Wait a minute. So we must have been standing here looking at the scene. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey. Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Ah, thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade. That still seems to be up for debate, by the way, whether it's Lestrade or Lestrade, because yes, I know the detective in Holmes's novel is Lestrade, but... Ugh. I don't know if it's a pun or not. Lestrade does seem to roll off the tongue better for me, so I'll just keep saying Lestrade then. Enjoy that debate. Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Ginny! Yes, she's a professional pickpocket! So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to that trial disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Urlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Early if he was my father, would I? Well, then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Lover! Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? Oh my god, they were roommates. I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year. Well, what of your mother and father? Killed them. Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes and... Oh! You have a copy of Rance magazine? Yes, I've read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? That's right. Early is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard of them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night he was telling me all about the new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript. Man, I've been yawning a lot. Of the next issue before you came. So, you are the author? Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest invention the Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know a snake might not be the credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... It's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in the Ranch magazine? All written by me? Yeah! On my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are all written by a doctor of medicine, a John H. Wilson. Sounds getting more and more worked up. Ah, yeah, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the Doctor of Medicine part? That's all true too. I am a Doctor of Medicine. No, at 10 years old? At 10 years old! Well, that's quite incredible. But, Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman! Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh! Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? Yes. Yes, it does sound weird. So why are you doing it, game? I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. About before. Yes, yes, what's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean? Because you're wearing a lawyer's badge and you're clearly Japanese. Yes, oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now let's begin. Oh no. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. First of all, I already knew that you were a lawyer, Bruno. Yep. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed a passport and a travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh. So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me that you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you, earlier today? Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Mr. Natsume! Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both had come from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Yeah, she's the smart one. Also, yeah, racial stereotyping right there, anyway. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. You even managed the certain something of Mr. Shelm's delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please. I ain't telling you shit. Get out. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man. You were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after a sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. So Seki-san said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time. Of course it did! He's a great detective! Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear. I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. The capital of the greatest country in the world is riddled with crime. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. This place sucks. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the working of the world's greatest You have her say all of that, and you still say, oh, it's still the world's greatest justice system. Yikes. I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. It's been so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Ah, well. I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Natsume. Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Ah, goody, in that case. Give Gregsy this for me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record. It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. To be continued. You know what? I'm actually getting pretty tired right now, and we've passed the 2-hour mark. So I know we're all just dying to see Sholmes again, but that's gonna have to wait until next time, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Ta-da! And I'll be back at this no later than Wednesday. I had to skip this Wednesday for the Twitch protest, but I'm going to trying to go back on my normal schedule by having these on Wednesdays at the latest, and then depending on that, I may do it again Friday. Who knows? But until then, guys, I hope you all have a great weekend. Let me see if I can keep the Friday night streaming going by having us raid somebody. None of the usual folks I raid are online. But, you know, Lethero is doing Tales of Vesperia, which I know has been Grant's thing, so I'll go ahead and raid him. He's raided Scott a lot, so I feel like this is a nice turnabout. So I hope everyone has a nice night and a nice weekend, and we'll be back Monday with more My Hero. Until then, guys.